Hi, hi. My name is Lance Huff, and I also have a secondary channel called Play Like You Can, but don't feel bad if you don't know what that is, because no one's really watching it. And I decided I needed to do something different for me that was something I could do weekly and that would serve a purpose, which I'll get into. I grew up in California, and I was always kind of an introvert, so I didn't have a lot of friends at any one point. And I lived the last couple of years in California where really not having any friends or any social connections. So that when moving to Arizona was something my brother was determined to do, I didn't really have anyone to go to stay in California, which is what I would have preferred to do. And so I find myself here in Arizona, and I'm still an introvert. Haven't really dated much here or there, and I'm not really dating that much now because my concern is that I work in retail, and retail for the most part is not the best way to make a living, and I'm not interested in dragging someone down to live to a hand-to-mouth existence, especially having kids do it. So that decision has kind of left me in a limbo state. And you hear about those people that kept to themselves. They weren't bad people. They weren't people that just no one knew. They lived with pets. And, like the old joke, the old lady with 10,000 cats. And, she passes away, and someone kind of leads the charge to getting her a funeral, but they do it kind of out of obligation or pity. In the end, no one really knows this old woman, because anyone that she either knew is either dead or gone before her. And that was kind of my concern, or that. Let me backtrack. When my mother passed away, she had left such a legacy, and that's the key word to remember for this intro, is legacy. And she left a legacy that she filled a small church auditorium with dozens of people that literally took the stage to talking about her when me and my brother really weren't ready to do so. And it just amazed me then and now is that, she was a simple mom and a very dedicated school teacher, and she had left such an imprint on people that was her legacy. She didn't need to say anything. She didn't need to have any words. She didn't need to leave any videos. That was it. And opposed to my father, who died, and it was just my brother, myself, and just maybe a couple other people who really didn't know him. He had kind of put himself into that box to where he died and no one really knew him. No one really knew inside his head. And, I see too much of myself, of my father in me, and, no one's going to live forever. And I just didn't want to die without leaving a voice. And initially when I came here to Arizona and I had to stop playing video games, something I enjoy doing a lot, and look for work, I got into YouTube videos and YouTubers. And I thought, well, that'd really be cool to try. So when I moved to a new apartment, with my brother moving to Oregon with his new wife, I thought I'd give it a try, even knowing that it was way past the deadline for someone to effectively jump in and just commentary video games and get a response. Well, I really wasn't getting any response, so I tried doing what I call parody videos. What I mean by that is that Japanese filmmakers were in the past using video games as cutscenes to telling different stories. And an example of that here in the state would be Rooster Teeth's Red vs. Blue, using Halo game scenes to tell a different story. In this case, a funny, sarcastic story. So I took that same kind of concept and thought, well, I kind of bounced around a few ideas with the thought that you can use video games to tell a lot of different stories, in particular scary or drama stories. And I have one that's based on the old Burn Notice series, which due to the fact that I'm the only one doing it, there's no budget, and there's not a lot of time, none of them were particularly awe-inspiring. And it came down to anything I was doing with the other channel, Play Like You Can, was that no one's really watching these. And it's hard to work 5 days in a row, use your only days off to crank out a video or two that no one's really watching. I mean, that's very depressing to do and not have anyone watching and no one seeming to care. So I kind of sat back and said, I'm going to put those on a back burner, and I'm going to create a medium where every week I'm just going to talk to the camera here. And it's honestly, selfishly more for me than anyone else. It's something I feel I need to do to get my voice out, to get a legacy to where my head, my thoughts are out, good or bad. And I just was remembering the old Sting song, Message in a Bottle. And I just thought, you know, at one point in the song it describes the singer seeing dozens of bottles in the water, knowing that he had touched a nerve, and that nerves were, you know, that people felt off, you know, the same way he did, you know, and the loneliness and the not connectedness. And I decided, you know, I was going to create a small video log that I'm going to do every week for the purpose of just kind of putting myself out there. And in my main goal is, like I said, legacy. That is just something I want to do to where I have something of a legacy. I don't have kids. I'm not a big author. I'm never going to make a mark in the world where anyone is going to know or care that I even lived. And yet I can either crawl into that obscurity and say, oh well, or try to do a little something. So this is my attempt at doing that. So basically, every week I'm going to come together here and talk about things that are kind of happening in my life. I'll obviously discuss work. That'll never be totally very happy, but it is what it is. And then I'll talk about any games I'm playing that maybe I think would be interesting for someone else to know. Not an alt video, just maybe just some scenes. Just say, you know, I played this. It was kind of interesting. Maybe you'd like it too. Some story ideas that, you know, I'm kind of what you call a wannabe story writer. It's something I never really was able to utilize as a job. I think I would have had very fun as an independent script writer. Not maybe movies, but some of the strange projects you'll see on different channels today, like Robot Chicken, that, you know, who knew that that was even going to be an option. So if I come up with an idea that I just kind of came up and said, this would be interesting, I'm going to throw it out. I'll describe my week and just generally how I'm feeling. You know, just again, leaving a mark for that particular week. Something I can film on a Monday and then just, you know, send it either that Monday night or send it out Tuesday. That way I'm kind of doing something every week. Initially I started Play Like You Can with the justification I didn't want to just play video games and it'd be in this self-contained little world that meant nothing. There's no offense to gamers. If you're not really connected with anyone, you're just playing games, it's just really, really bad escapism. You're going to find in the end no one cares. You know, this fantasy world of characters you interact with, the whole 9 yards, doesn't really mean anything unless you have someone in the real world to connect with. And I don't. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. So this message in a bottle is a way of me to reaching out in the hope that I'll be able to kind of establish a rhythm of you know, touching out, you know, doing, you know, just doing something, even if it's not being watched. And if it actually helps anyone, talk someone off a ledge, give someone an interesting idea. You know, I see a glimpse of other bottles in the water like the song, that would be awesome. But at the same time, I don't have any expectations, good or bad. I'm just going to do this and leave it up to the Lord, I guess, you know, to decide if it's going to mean anything. Or it's just something that'll be there for anyone who is curious as to who I was when I die. They'll have, you know, some stuff to work with, I guess you could say. And in the end, That's all I can ask for. Thanks for tuning in. This is Message in the Bottle, July 25th, 2018.